Unlock your potential today at skillbakery.com.
Hello and welcome to another exciting video. Now in this one, we'll be covering a couple of items. For example, first thing that we will understand is how to create a component so that we can refactor our code properly. And the next thing that we will be learning is the difference between a named query and a non-named or unnamed query. So here, the first thing that we have done from our previous code is that we have created a component. Instead of running everything in the app function itself, we created a file called countryinfo.js. Now inside this, we have imported the React and use query from Apollo Client. And over here, we have our get data query. And then over here, we have our country info component, which is expecting a code parameter. And then we are loading the data that we are receiving using the use query method. And over here, we are iterating through this. Now, let's go ahead and explore this particular get data method. Over here, you will notice a unique thing that we have this name coming up along with the query, that's get country. But in our previous example, we were just providing a query. So let's understand the difference between named and unnamed queries. A named query, in this case in get country that we have over here, helps in identifying the purpose of the query, especially useful for debugging, logging, and monitoring tools. An unnamed query, like over here, lacks this context, which can make it less clear when viewing logs or if you encounter errors related to the query. Now, there are definitely use cases for these too. For example, unnamed queries, often used for simple one-off queries where clarity is not as critical, or in situations where the query structure is straightforward. Like in this case, we wanted all the countries, so we had this unnamed query. Named queries, on the other hand, are beneficial for complex queries, especially when they are reused across different parts of an application or when specific query names help convey their purpose. So here we have get country, and it is specifically mentioning that we need a code of type ID, and the exclamation mark that you see mention it to be mandatory. And then on this line, country code indicates that we are querying for the country field and we are passing the code variable to filter the country we want to retrieve. The country field is expected to return an object that corresponds to the country identified by the provided code. And then we have field selection over here, like code, name, continent. Other than this, the GraphQL function is a tag function provided by Apollo Client to parse GraphQL queries. It enables syntax highlighting and helps validate the query. So over here, we have our get data now, and the variable is passed like this. So we make use of the use query, then pass the get data, and any additional parameters that we want can be passed using the variables. And over here, we have code. So now, if we run this over here in our app.js, you can see we have imported this country info component, and over here we are making use of it. The code is being passed directly, and over here, for example, we are passing US. Now, if we run this one, you'll notice that it's showing United States. Now let's go ahead and tweak this component in a way when we don't specify anything, we get all the countries, and if we specify a particular country code, then we get that particular country. So here, you can see that right now we are passing the code US, and based on this, we are getting the output just United States. Now, if I go ahead and remove this code altogether and just have the country info, it's going to render all the countries that we have in the collection. Now, how we are doing this? Let's go ahead and explore that as well. So in our countryinfo.js file, what we have done is we have created two GQL queries, two graph queries basically. One is get all countries and the other one get country. Now, these two have separate queries, as you can see over here. What we are doing is, based on the code that we are passing, we are identifying if the code has been passed or not. If code is there, then we are calling the get country. Otherwise, we are calling the get all countries. And based on that only, the variable is accordingly passed to the GQL or the GraphQL query. Now, down below, you'll notice that if code is present, then we are displaying the specific country only, as you can see over here. So we are saying data.country.name, code, and continent name. And if no code is provided, then we are displaying all the countries. In that case, we are making use of the data.countries.map collection. And based on that, we are iterating through that collection and printing the code, name, and continent. So in this one, we learned how to create a component, when to use named and when to use unnamed queries, what are the differences and use cases for each one of them. And we've also updated our component to include both the cases, like the code is provided. In that case, we are just showing the specific country. Otherwise, we are showing the whole list of countries that we have. If you find the video helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe.